Welcome back everyone, Oz here. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And today we're taking a look at r/ProRevenge. Threaten my son, lose your money. I left my ex-husband with our then 5-year-old son when we were going to be evicted as a result of his gambling and addiction issues. My son and I ended up living in a friend's dining room, and stayed there for about 6 months until we moved into a room of our own. About 3 months after we had left, I took my son back to visit with X. When I picked my son up, I saw a state lottery bag in X's car. X had won a pretty big lottery award a few years before, which just fueled the gambling addiction, and he ran through it in a couple of months. So I recognized this as a swag bag you get from when you're a big winner. When my son and I got back to my friend's place, I did some digging and found X had won about $250,000 2 months to the day after my son and I had been forced to move. We were still married, and no one had filed for divorce yet. About a week before, I found out he had a new girlfriend, who he was conveniently seeing while we were still living together. That will be relevant later. I confronted him and told him I didn't even want half, just enough to get my son and I settled and start over. But he was furious I found out and threatened to take my son as I couldn't afford to take care of him. And now he could. I was understandably upset and was freaking out to a friend right after the confrontation. Now, my ex had 2 kids with a prior ex to whom he owed thousands in back child support. My friend just asked, "What's her number?" I was still sobbing and shaking and gave it to her. My friend called and said, "Hello, prior ex, this is OP's friend. Just thought you'd want to know ex-husband just won $250,000 in the lottery. Have a nice night." Prior ex immediately called me to see what that was about. I told her what had happened, and we came up with a plan. I was meeting one last time with X, who'd agreed to pay off the title loan on my car that I'd taken out to pay our rent while we were still together. I was to meet at his bank. He'd give me the cash, and I would take the cash to pay off the loan. As soon as he handed me the money, I texted prior X the name of the bank. She filed a garnishment, and very soon after, his accounts were frozen. He texted me furious, I told prior X, and I just said, "You threatened to take my son because I didn't have the money to care for him, but you did. Now, you don't." Prior X ended up getting what was left. That was a month later, and only about $90K was left. And the court made new girlfriend pay prior X the money X had given her for rent and various gifts, which prior X then sent to me. Not much, but a huge help when you're starting over. It's been almost 5 years now. New girlfriend is still just girlfriend, even though they got engaged before I even knew she existed, and, again, before anyone filed for divorce, and she utterly despises me and prior ex. We're both cool with it. Before you comment about how it was this dude's money and he was entitled to it, she took out a loan to pay for the rent that they were both sharing at the time, that they were still married, so she was owed technically half of it. He was cheating on her and was engaged to someone else while they were married. I mean, just all of this in general. The dude's a scumbag. There's also a limerick too long didn't read in the comments, so let's have some fun. My gambling ex got us evicted, so leaving was hardly conflicted. He won a big prize, and so with some lies, sought maternal rights, fencely constricted. My friend made a call to X Prime, and cooked up a scheme in no time. His plan lost its varnish when his accounts got a garnish. 'Twas truly worth dropping the dime. Wife cheats on their husband, abuses their children, and lies on court. Enjoy not having your kids anymore. Good day, you know the deal. English not first language, mobile yada yada. It's also my first post, so be gentle please. For cast we have mom, empty human, S, sister, me, and my dad. I have no concrete dialogue for this story since it happened about 4 years ago, and I pretty much want to forget about it. Now, some background. My mother is not exactly the best person in the world. She used to abuse me and S both physically and mentally, mostly mentally, avoid responsibilities at home, and she also decided to cheat on my dad with several men around 13 years ago, and never stopped. When my father discovered this, he simply stopped sleeping in the same room and stopped being affectionate towards her. He stayed with her for us, S and I, and decided to raise us basically alone since my mom was always outside with her partners. My mother used to simply arrive home to eat, sleep, and hurt me or my sister. The rest of the day she claimed to be working overtime. However, all the money she made was kept away for herself, and my father had to do real overtime to take care of us, and he was tired of not getting any help. Here's where my dad's revenge plan starts. He stayed quiet for a long time, managing work and parenting very well, but in the meantime, he was collecting all the evidence he could about my mom cheating, as well as evidence of abuse towards sister and I. And he also kept supporting us, teaching us how to stand up for ourselves and each other, helping us understand how bad mom's behavior was, and we don't need to justify her bad treatment just for being our mother. He kept being the best person he could for about 10 years until sister and I were old enough to testify in court. Then he immediately filed for divorce and got it very easily since mom kept lying about how he was abusing me and my children. But of course, he had proof of her cheating and being the abuser, so they got divorced. But the plan didn't end there since he wanted us to live with him. My dad left our house immediately after the divorce, and 2 weeks later, I moved with him. My sister stayed with mom. Let's skip some months until the court date to discuss the kids' custody. About 6 months prior, my mother lied about me living with her so she could get that sweet child support check. But when the court date arrived, sister and me testified against her, explaining how bad of a mother she was, etc. And I said I had been living with my dad for months, contrary to what my mother has said. Of course, she wanted to play the victim with lies, which we refuted. The judge was not having it and told her that she needed to stop lying because she was being fined for lying to a judicial authority. Of course, she lost our custody and she was forced to return the child support money to us. Now she lives alone and sometimes tries to play the "forgive me, I know I did wrong" card with us, only to ask for money right after. But none of us want to see her again. Not exactly a massive sweet and evil revenge, but after I told my dad about this sub, he told me I should post the story. I hope it actually belongs here. The client is not always right. This just happened. Couldn't wait to get home and post. I'm on cloud 9. Long read, too long didn't read at the bottom. I work at a big ad agency with large companies as our clients. We expect to work in partnership with our clients. We fire clients that treat us poorly. Usually, we treat each other with respect. Our biggest client has 5 different teams we work with, and one of them was led by Baseball Dad. BD was the type of necklace marshmallow who gets wasted at his kid's baseball game and starts heckling the other kids. Just a boorish asshole. He never approved any of our work, putting out awful stuff that his internal team made, even though he is literally paying us millions of dollars to make ads for him. His product was struggling to sell and he blamed us, even though we were killing it with the other 4 teams. He didn't know this, which comes back to bite him later. However, none of this is why we needed revenge. I don't give a shit if a client wants to fail. I collect my paycheck regardless. However, he crossed several lines. 1. He was extremely sexist. He used to call my female coworkers sweetheart in the most condescending voice, commented on their clothes, bodies, and smirk at me when they were talking because we were both men, I guess. These women are highly accomplished, serious people, and they are like family to me. Huge misplay on his part. 2. Baseball Dad was abusive to us. He would constantly interrupt us, tell us to shut up, call us vendors, and remind us he could fire us at any time. 3. BD would lie. He would tell his boss, actual nice guy but too busy to check closely, that we missed deadlines or forgot deliverables because he never checked his email. We would then have to awkwardly struggle to prove Baseball Dad wrong without calling him a liar so we could keep the business. He never owned up to anything he said to us on the phone. 4. The final straw took place on a call between Baseball Dad and one of my project managers. I saw her run out of a room crying. She told me Baseball Dad said to her, in a one-on-one call, that she should worry less about budgets and more about wearing that nice top she wore at our last presentation. Gross. Revenge time. I told my cool boss that our team had enough of Baseball Dad. We were at our wits' end with his shit. Several of my coworkers were looking for new jobs. It's hard to hire good people. So my boss asked me to give her a day to figure this out. She wanted to lose BD without losing the entire business. The next day, she showed up with our IT guy, who set up a voice recording on our conference line. It's illegal to record people without consent in my state, but Baseball Dad was late to every call. Too bad, because if he had showed up on time, he would have heard the new message kicking off every call. This call is being recorded. His team heard it and had no problem with it. I suspect they hated him too. For the next 2 weeks, we recorded everything, every word of it. One of my audio engineers made a supercut of every terrible thing Baseball Dad said. Every sweetheart, shut up, no one cares what you think. My project manager even baited him into repeating what he said about her clothes on a budget call. This time, he literally said, "You're much better at flirting than budget, sweetheart. That's why I like you." The supercut sounded insane when played all together. It was an incredible piece of evidence. We sent it to his boss and his vice president and threatened to walk away from the work 2 weeks before product launch if Baseball Dad wasn't disciplined. They immediately apologized and begged us not to leave. They said it would be handled by Monday. My one sweet project manager, he had been so gross to, got the best part of the revenge. She anonymously sent the supercut to his wife using the email address she had posted on LinkedIn. I don't know what became of that, but I imagine it wasn't good. On Monday, Baseball Dad wasn't on the call. My boss snooped and found out that he had a few complaints prior and got immediately shit-canned after we sent it through. He didn't see vendors as people, so he was shocked that his words towards us counted against his 3-strike policy. Apparently, he melted down completely as he was being fired. He said it was all because we were incompetent, but the other 4 team leads had all put in their numbers and said that it wasn't on our end. Their products were slaying. Wish I could have seen it. I imagine he came home to a very angry wife as well. We are all hitting the bar tonight in his honor. Fuck you, Baseball Dad. He deserved all of that. 100%. So great to see someone who was abusing their power just get it right up the ass. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you want something a little different than my usual narrations, then check out my r/madlads video. I spent like 13 hours making that, so if you check it out, that would really mean a lot to me. Anyways, until next time, I'll see y'all later.